this. How many of you are aware of this new program called First Home Savings Account? It's new,
Yeah.
effectively April 1st. I think it's an interesting program. If you remember, we were big on buy homes with zero down. Remember those days? I think this is going to give us another tool to talk about. Whether if it's practical or not is another issue. Or perhaps we're going to change it. I thought buy home with low down payment. I'm not too sure yet. But just to give you a sense of what it is, this is not extensive with all the stuff. You're going to have questions. It's done purposely because of the time. But to give you an idea of what it is, the information that you see here is directly from the Canadian government website. So just for some of you who want more information, just type in FHSA, Canada, because there's a lot of symbol with that. If you type that in, or when you Google that, you see the Canadian website, something like this. In fact, the whole presentation is a copy directly from that site. The reason for that is saving me a lot of prep work on it. So you'll see that site, and
Can you give me that screen one more time? I'm seeing my kids this weekend. So this, they don't listen to mommy, they don't listen to a picture.
well,
They say,
you
"I'll
can get
have
the
David
recording.
next
You
to
get
it."
the recording on this. Okay, this is recorded. So FHSA, just Google that, all the information's on there. So who can qualify, or who can open this up? Well, there's only really a couple of requirements. 18 years old, Canadian or resident of Canada, and being a first-time home buyer.
So that first-time home buyer, just to revisit that.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So here's a way to define first-time home buyer. You can read through that. If someone who the previous calendar year is a first-time home buyer qualifies according to that. Or the previous 4 years that you own a house, but it's not, and the phrase they use is qualifying home. So it was an investment home, you didn't live in it. You qualify. So it's a little bit different. So it's under the guideline of first-time home buyer for the first home savings account. Now, if you are buying with a spouse, this is where it can be tricky. When you're buying with a spouse or a common law person, the common law spouse who owns a house is qualified. So just like the old, yeah, so we can go through that. What do you need to get it? Well, it's very simple. You go to the many providers, the banks, or your financial planning institution, the different places.
Sorry, they're not for free.
And all they want is that proof of ID. So you got to show them your social insurance number, your date of birth, and so on, to prove who you are, and then you qualify. You have 15 years to use this program. So in other words, you can save this year, next year, and so on, and you do have to close it when you turn 71. There's a reason for that, right? So if you're already 70, you only got 1 year to go, and I guess the concern is you might just tip over and not come right back. So,
Is that what 71 looks like?
I hope not.
It's not gonna be me.
There are many of us here who are very close to that. So I love making fun with that. So when you turn 71, okay, I'm skipping a lot of things.
Real quick, what happens if you die before you use it?
That's a good question. Read the deal, because it takes long, tedious tax consequences. Because this money is after-tax money.
Yeah.
So there is a tax consequences. Because the only purpose for this money is if you buy a house under those qualifying guidelines. So you ended up not buying, whether you live or die, it's not important. Now that money saved up has to face taxes.
So it's not a tax-free savings account?
No, it's not. It's for first-time home buyers is the savings account. Yeah.
So does it take you 6 years to build up to 40,000, then you can buy the house with
Nope,
this money?
nope, no, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I think one of the things about this group is we're so dynamic.
Yeah.
That when people speak, that's literally the presentation, and we listen to it.
Yeah, let's let him finish.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, by the way, it's interesting to see this. I was watching this on YouTube, Marjorie Taylor Greene, many of you know
Oh,
who
yeah.
she is, right? And I was so surprised that she was at this Homeland Security meeting, and she started doing her normal thing and calling the guy, all this crazy thing, calling him a liar. And the chairman said to her, "You need to retract that statement." "No, I'm not." And the chairman read through the rules. I didn't realize the rules saying that she is no longer recognized. I go, well, what does that mean? She can't speak for the rest of the duration. There are rules. we got a tendency to jump,
There's our
right?
warning.
David's rules of order.
So that's what a chairman's job is. It's interesting too, to go, I'm not too sure, let me go through the regulations. I come, well, under regulation 552215, section 4, or whatever.
Oh,
it's
give us
saying
a talking stick
So-
then.
Yeah. So you can also carry forward, because remember, you've got all these years to build up. 8,000 a year, so let's say we put 8,000 in this year, we didn't buy. Next year, we didn't have the money to do it. The following year, you could carry forward up to 8,000 of the unused money. I think it's good. Now, don't get confused with RRSP, the first 60 days, you know you can apply it to the previous year or the existing year. That's why there's a deadline by the end of February. It's because you can choose to apply that to whichever year. There is no such thing here. You go in and buy this in February, it's only good for that year, okay? The different types of withdrawals. Some people got symptoms where they have withdrawals. But what I'm gonna focus on the qualifying withdrawal, that basically saying you're taking the money out for the purpose of buying a house, and you meet all the requirements. So I'm not gonna go into details, you can meet that in the guidelines there. Let's take some real example of what that means. And here's a tax program, I did that purposely. I don't have 2023 tax calculations. That's why I emphasize I'm using 2022 guidelines. So here, for someone, oh, that's kind of tiny, making $50,000 a year, they contributed $8,000 into the, now you notice here is under RISP. From the tax purpose, it's the same thing. You reduce your income by $8,000. So this person should get $2,300 rebate. It's not bad. You put $8,000 in, you bonus it by $2,300.
Yeah.
Well, what if income is higher? So in this case, the income is $100,000. Obviously, I can't do every scenario. Well, they get $2,800, almost $2,900. If the person's income is $100,000, that changes.
$200,000 more.
$200,000. Obviously, he's in a much higher tax bracket. So the rebate depending on your tax bracket. But what does all this mean? So I'm going to take some example. I'm going to use an example of someone, individual, not combined family income, because we're talking about taxes. So if you have two people making $100,000, they're not paying a lot of taxes. I'm talking about one person making $100,000. What they should do, to me, is two things. One, we're familiar with. Continue with the RRSP contribution. We're familiar with that, right? If not, you can look at the old video. And if possible, contribute $8,000 into the savings plan. Now, I know the question will come, well, where do they get the money from? We'll save that for another session on that. There are different ways to get the money. Okay, just out of curiosity, some may already have $30,000 set aside for the mortgage down payment or for the purchase down payment. Well, instead of going $30,000 into down payment, they should use $20,000 into the RRSP, buy that, and put $8,000 in the first home savings plan. Why would we want to do that? We use the calculation again. If they do both of that, there's a $9,000 rebate. That's not bad. You bonus a $30,000 with $9,000. It's actually a little bit more than that.
But that's for their money to buy a house, so how do they get that
You
money?
put the money, so I'm saying, what if someone already have $30,000 sitting there?
My kids have 100.
Uh,
Between the two of them, they have 100.
Well, that's not an issue. We can spend the time on a different scenario. I'm just saying, if somebody already have $30,000 cash, whether it's from the bank or mom and dad,
But
it's
then
not
you
important.
can't take it out for the house,
Right,
can you?
thank you.
Well, you have to pay
RSP?
the RSP back.
No, you don't. First time home buyers plan up to $35,000.
Yeah, but you have 15, you have to pay it back over a
And
15-year
Well,
period.
that's another issue, right? I'm talking about right now, if they buy $20,000 worth of RRSP and $8,000 worth of first home savings plan, this example, they would get $9,000 back. Okay, and we'll get to buying a house for a minute. So if they put the money in right now, this is effective April 1st, 2023. They walk in tomorrow, put the money in and buy both, and next month they buy a house. They qualify. Because the contribution is for the year 2023. They are both in there. Now, just to be clear, the RRSP has a 90-day period on there. So let's keep the example simple. Now, so what does that mean if they were to buy next month? Well, they can pull out 20,000 from the RRSP, they can pull out the 8,000 from the savings plan, and if they didn't spend the money, there's $9,000 worth of rebate sitting there. Of course, the timing has to be right too, let's keep it simple, and they have $37,000 for down payment from 28,000 cash. I don't think that's a bad thing to do to get someone going. What if they are not ready to buy right now? They should still do it. So I picked an example. They're gonna buy in 2025. Zen gave me the idea. She said, yeah, somebody he knows are not ready, but they want to start saving and take advantage of that. We just talked about if we do it in 2023, we got that example. And I'm going to assume they're going to have some money in the RRSP already. I'm changing it a bit. I know it's not really clear. So when I made that up last night at 9:30, I didn't think of all the scenarios. So let's assume they already have 15,000, they cash 20 plus the 15. There is $35,000 they can pull out from the RRSP if they buy in 2025. And because they got 3 years worth of the savings, there's 24,000. 3 years, right? And the rebate, the first year we already calculated. The second year, I'm assuming they're not buying any RRSP, just to keep the math simple. And the third year they didn't, well, there's another $15,000 worth of rebate. To me, that's not bad. Now they have $74,000 in the year 2025 for purchase. So this program, if it's used wisely, is good. Now, I believe for us,